Hey Bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are continuing our Rosé series with this lovely Rosé cold process soap, which is made with actual rosé wine. Now, soaping with wine is a little harder than soaping with water, and that's because wine contains sugar, and sugar is a complicating factor when making soap. With that in mind, I made a couple different decisions about this soap in order to kind of make things a little easier for us and increase our chances of success. One of the first things I did is I didn't use wine for the entire water portion. I used it for part of the water portion, and so that still gives us some of the woohoo, there's wine in this soap, and the sugar does help improve the lather, but it decreases the added challenge that more wine would present. I also opted to use a cavity mold to keep the batter from getting too hot, because of course if you have it all in one loaf mold, it can get hotter and hold that heat better. If we have it in a bunch of just little different cavity molds, it can't get quite as hot and it can't hold on to that heat quite as much. I also opted to soap at a fairly low temperature, just a little bit above room temperature, to again keep things from getting too hot. I finished the making part of this video when I'm done unmolding the bars, but a couple days later I decided to take a vegetable peeler to them, kind of polish up the edges, and I really recommend doing that. It is way more fun than it should be. The little soapy shavings that come off of a bar of still relatively soft soap are just very satisfying, and I really like the way it kind of perked up and polished the look of the bars. If you want to learn more about this soap, please make sure you are going down to the description box below this video and clicking through to find this post on my blog on humblebeeandme.com. There you'll find the full details of the fat blend, information about colorants and clays, the micas that I used, the fragrance that I used, and more information on the specifics of the process. I had a lot of fun incorporating some actual rosé wine into this rosé soap for part of our rosé series. So come on, let's get started. Okay, so here is our soaping setup. In this pot we have our fat blend that has been melted and cooled, but not completely to room temperature because there's quite a lot of solid fat in this fat blend. Full details in the description box below. So if I cooled it all the way to room temperature, it started to be a little too solid for our liking. We have our sodium hydroxide solution here made with rosé wine. Details of that are on the blog. We have our micas. There's a pinky one and a gold one. We have our clay and we have our fragrance. So we're going to begin by blending the clay into our fats. Up next, we'll add our sodium hydroxide solution. Now we're going to divide the batter into roughly thirds and color it before we pour. So for our mold, we have this oval mold, and then I also have a circular cavity mold off screen as well, and I will be needing both of them. All right, and so there the soap is poured. There's another set of molds off camera that you can't see. I'm just gonna kind of smooth out the tops here with my spatula. And there we go. So now we're going to leave that to saponify before we take the soaps out of their mold. All right, so it's actually been about a week, which is longer than it really needed to be, but I was out of town, and so these are gonna be really easy to unmold now. You can actually see they're starting to kind of pull away from the edges on some of these. So when you make a soap in a cavity mold, part of your decision about when to unmold is going to be based on how stiff the mold is. So this one is pretty stiff, whereas the circular one I used is a lot softer. So you can see this one is much kind of floppier, and so you can actually kind of even fully turn the cavities inside out as you're unmolding the bars. So with this mold, I could unmold the soap a couple days earlier than with the stiffer one, simply because I can really turn it out a lot better, and it ends up being a little easier on the soap. I just kind of find that with the stiffer molds, you have to use a bit more force, and it increases the chances of denting some of the bars. Even after like a week in the mold, some of the ones from the stiffer oval mold lost a little bit of soap to the bottom of the cavity as I was pulling them out. And there we are. So some beautiful bars of Rosé soap made using a cavity mold. So I'm really interested to see how these bars sort of wear as they're used, so we can get to see a bit of a cross section. Since I can't show you the bars throughout use, I thought we would kind of cut one up so you can see what the insides look like. You can see kind of some interesting soapy swirls and interacting colors and whatnot that'll really kind of come through as the bar is used. So I'm going to leave these to age for at least 3 weeks before using or gifting. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and please make sure you are checking out the description box below this video to click through to check this post out on my blog, where you'll find the full written recipe, all the fat amounts, the information on superfat, micas, etc. But yeah, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.